Well, there's something missing here. It's this. So I've had to take the triple clamp off because my ignition switch got so sticky that I couldn't turn the bike on. So I've taken it off. That was pretty easy. I was going to take the front fairing off because it looked like I might be able to drill the bolts at the bottom here out, but after looking at it, I think taking this off was probably easier, and it meant that I could take this to the workshop and sort the problem out. So one problem I did have was that the steering lock was on and it was stuck in the locked position. Okay, so the ignition switch, the new one's back in, and of course I've now got two keys, one for the seat and one for this. But does it work? Well, ignition comes on and it starts. So yes, it does work. I thought I'd have a look inside my old ignition switch and see maybe what the problem was in there. So the problem with it was that the key wouldn't turn, so it was getting a little bit stiff and then it eventually sort of seized up. I managed to free it enough to get the steering lock down, because without that it would be a real pain getting this off the bike, by putting some WD-40 down there, but I don't think that's a permanent solution. So this has been adjusted because I've drilled out the bolts here and here and replaced them with just hex head bolts. So these are replacements. I'm not really too bothered about putting security bolts back in. I mean, the bike itself isn't worth too much now. I don't think anyone would be interested in stealing it. So if we take that off, you can see that that looks pretty good in there, although that's the WD-40 that's gone everywhere. There's a big spring in there that pushes the core up and down, and that's for the steering lock. It's got some up and down movement as well as rotation. I can't really see anything wrong with that. That looks okay. Everything's moving, so I'm not sure that that was the problem, although the WD-40's probably dissolved a load of dirt now. So it's looking like I could probably put it back on the bike, maybe. Yeah, something just fell out of there. That's interesting. So that's the cover for the key, which does have a sliding, spring-loaded cover to stop rain getting in there and so on. So that's interesting. There's a spring in there, but I think maybe there's the spring. It just fell out. Maybe it's actually the mechanism that's caused the problems. So when I drilled these bolts out, once I'd taken the heads off, the stud that was remaining, the remains of the bolt, they were just finger tight. There was absolutely no problem removing them at all. There was no corrosion on the threads whatsoever. So everything's in pretty good condition. It's just that that's the switch, so that's the part that actually rotates in there. So that's the contacts for the whatever it's doing. Can we get that out? See if I can get that out. I probably won't use this switch again. Probably stay with a new one, but I don't want to damage it, so I could use it. So there we go, that's the wiring inside. There is a resistor in there as well. It said on the box it was a 2K. Looking at that, that's more like 100 ohms, but there we go. So I think maybe the problem was in here, and this is looking a bit corroded. There's corrosion in the corner there. So where's that come from? So yeah, so this is the problem. That was not sliding left and right for the steering lock, I think. And there is a bit of corrosion here, so that looks to be coming in through the bottom of the ignition switch. So that would have gone on. How does that go on? It goes on like that. Interestingly, the cable comes out here, and there's no sealing at all for the cable. So the cable that comes out, put it back again, was it that way round? That way round. Yeah. I can't remember which way round it was now. That way round. So the cable went in like this. Now obviously this is upside down, so water will have a bit of trouble going upwards, but not that much trouble. So I think the problem is that this, in this corner here, down there's no weather ingress protection at all. So I think rubbish has got in there. Yeah, you can see it's clean on this side, and there's corrosion dust on that side. So it's gone in there. Let's get this back out again if I can. Can't get it out now. It's gone in there, and then it's stopped this from sliding freely. So that's the problem. Can we get that out again? Yeah. Come on. Gone down in here and then in here, and that's prevented this from doing its sliding left and right. So I think that's the problem. And you can see the steering lock's a bit the same. The steering lock has a bit of corrosion on it, the actual bar. So that's not going to help either. So in terms of the lock, that's actually fine. I don't think there's a problem with that, because up in the barrel that is sort of sealed. Well, it's got its little spring-loaded cover on the top. Well, I suppose water goes down, so you put a spring-loaded cover on the top and then some way of letting it out at the back. But you can see that it's corroded on this side here. So which way would that have gone in the machine, in the bike? That would have gone, yeah, that way. So the cable is at the top left of the bottom. So you would hope that would be vaguely protected, but obviously it's not, and that's what's caused the problem. There's some going in through the steering lock as well. So the steering lock isn't looking too good, that bar. We can take that out. That's going to fall out, I think. There we go. And then we can take the steering lock bar out. Oh, that is, yeah, that's pretty corroded, and that actually feels quite gummy in there. So that could be the problem. Grease has gummed up, it's got a bit rusty and corroded. But overall I think this is probably salvageable. I could, if I needed to, desperately needed to, I could probably use it again. Once I've reassembled it, let's have a go at putting it back together again, shall we? It's locked, unlocked, ignition on and off. So it feels okay, it doesn't feel as good as it used to, but with a bit of a clean I think it'll be alright. It's still working. Unfortunately my key's a bit bent. I do have another one, but that's because I keep putting it in the seat lock, forgetting I've left the keys there, walking past and walking into the key. So probably needed a new one anyway, but it feels okay. It'll probably work for a little while. There we go, back together. So I've sort of got a spare if I want to refurbish it, but the problem is there's absolutely no ingress protection there. That could do with a rubber grommet or something there. So actually that is open there as well. That looks like some sort of evaporation hole. Let the water back out if it does get in, but that's going to screw things up royally in there. Right, there we go.